Lending money to friends and family? Be careful not to fall into this lending trap. A lot of the time, people let their family and friends borrow some cash for down payments on a car, for down payments on a house, for purchasing things, investments, etc. It's usually structured as a 0% interest loan because they know that their family and friends are eventually going to pay them back. But did you know that there's actually something called imputed interest that the IRS requires you to calculate on these friends and family loans? It's something that people miss all the time. And if you don't compute imputed interest on the loan, then the IRS may actually deem this as a gift and eat away at your lifetime exclusion. Hey, before we continue the video, if you're enjoying the topics that I talk about and want to hear more, do me a favor, smash that like button, share this on social media, and don't be afraid to comment on all my videos because I do read them personally and I'd love to address any questions that you have. And now, back to the video. So if you're making one of these loans to your family and friends and not charging interest on them, the IRS may say this isn't a loan. It's a gift because there's no interest assessed on a loan. And by law, a loan isn't a loan unless there's a component of interest attached to it. Why does this matter? And how do you avoid it? There's several tiers here that the IRS looks at where a loan is not considered a gift or a loan at all. If you actually do loan friends and family $10,000 or less, you can forget about the imputed interest or even a gift tax implication. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. We also look at the $18,000 annual gift tax exclusion as well. In 2024, you're allowed to gift up to $18,000 of cash or goods to any single person without any gift tax implications. That's the annual exclusion. You want to give your friend a used car worth $18,000 or less? No problem. Go ahead. Hand them over the title and the keys. If you want to gift your friend 18 grand, you want to get them a watch for their birthday? First of all, I want to be friends with you as well if these are the kind of gifts that you're doing. But in all seriousness, if that's what you wanted to do, you can go ahead and do it. There are no implications here as long as the gift is under $18,000. Now, if the gift is over $18,000, there are a ton of videos where I talk about the implications there. Check it out. It's going to be linked up below. Then you may actually have to file a gift tax return. And we can always structure around the annual exclusion because don't forget, the annual gift limit is per person. So meaning you can gift $18,000 to one person and you can gift $18,000 to a second person. And this is very common with gifting to kids and to parents. And if your kid has a spouse, that $18,000 just turned into $36,000 because you can gift 18 to son and 18 to their spouse. If you have a spouse, that $32,000 just turned into $72,000 because you can gift 18 to your son or daughter and their spouse, and your spouse can gift another 18 to your son and daughter and their spouse as well. So there are ways to be creative about that. But let's get back to what we're talking about. The other tier that the IRS looks at is the $100,000 rule. So they also say if your loan to a family or friend is $100,000 or less, you actually may or may not have to charge interest or actually calculate interest on that loan. What are the rules here? They say if the borrower, meaning the person that is receiving the money that's eventually going to pay it back, has net investment income, which is income from stocks and dividends, etc., $1,000 or less during that year, imputed interest will not be assessed. But if that person has more than $1,000 of net investment income during that year, then imputed interest must be assessed. So now let's paint this picture. You lend your friend $75,000 because they want to buy a home and they need $75,000 for that down payment. That's a conversation that you're going to have with them. First of all, you may feel awkward about it, but I wouldn't really feel awkward about it. At the end of the day, you're giving them $75,000. You want to make sure you're doing everything right. So the conversation is going to be, hey, here are the conditions. I know it's an interest-free loan. I don't want to collect interest from you. Here's $75,000, but I want to make sure that we're not breaking any laws here and we're disclosing what we should. So is your investment income going to be $1,000 or less? Let me know. We can always backtrack it at the end of the year. If it turns out to be more than $1,000, then you can reassess the interest for that time period. If not, then pay me back based on the terms that we agreed to, and we're good to go. At the end of the day, if your friend has a pretty healthy investment portfolio, they're probably going to know if they receive $1,000 of interest, dividends, capital gains, etc. during the year. What about loans that exceed $100,000? Well, there's no exception there. That falls into the third category. Any loan that exceeds $100,000 for friends and family basically has to have an interest component to it. I keep referring to this phrase imputed interest. So it's the implied interest on that loan, which essentially is interest whether it's collected or not, it's going to be deemed as charged, which will have tax implications. But before we get into that, what's the imputed interest rate and how does the IRS define imputed interest? So the IRS actually publishes on a monthly basis interest rates, and that is the chart that we're going to have to look at to assess what the interest rate is going to be for that loan. Check out below for the link to that. In July of 2024, the imputed interest rate for short-term loans, which the IRS considers 3 years or less, is roughly 5%. I think it's 5.06%. So that's the interest rate that you would assess on that loan that's $100,000 or more, or if your friend has net investment income that exceeds $1,000 a year. How does this actually play out? You can actually forego the collection of that interest. Instead of having your friend pay you that interest, what you would do is deem it as a gift. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's play out that scenario. You lent your friend $100,000. Their net investment income is greater than $1,000. So imputed interest has to be calculated on this transaction. What you're going to do is calculate 5% on that loan and assume you gave that loan out to your friend on January 1st of the year. So you have a 12-month interest calculation. Let's not talk about amortization. Let's say he hasn't paid you back at all for the 12 months. So at 12/31 of the same year, you still have $100,000 outstanding to collect from your friend. How does the calculation work? Take $100,000 and you multiply it by 5%. $100,000 times 5% is $5,000. So you're essentially picking up phantom income on your tax return of $5,000 because we just said that you're not going to charge them the interest. You're essentially just going to have them pay you back the principal. You record $5,000 on your income tax return, but at the end of the day, that interest that you're foregoing and not collecting from your friend is still considered a gift to your friend. However, we just spoke about this a few seconds ago, you have an annual gift tax exclusion of $18,000. So that $5,000 is going to eat into that gift tax exclusion for that friend. That's all you have to do. You report that on your income tax return as a $5,000 interest income item, and there's nothing that your friend has to do at all, except for pay you back, of course. Now, what if it was $1 million loan and you still chose to forgive the interest? Now, the same rules apply as far as you having to pick up that income on your tax return. So that's going to be an interest income calculation of $50,000, $1 million times 5% interest for that short-term loan, assuming it's less than 3 years, is going to be 50 grand that you pick up as interest income. Now, how do we treat that gift tax transaction? Because we just said that forgiven interest is considered a gift to your friend. So what we're going to have to do is actually carve out that $18,000, which is that annual gift tax exclusion, from the $50,000. And you would still have to file a gift tax return to reflect the total of the $50,000 that you had imputed on the interest, which is picked up as income, and forgave your friend for that interest component. You would subtract that $18,000, which is the annual gift tax exclusion, and you would be left with $32,000 of a gift for that year, which would be deducted from your lifetime exclusion. There are several ways to go about it. Let's say your friend has a spouse and you lend both of them. You would document this in a note. That way you would open up that gift tax exclusion to not just $18,000, but to $32,000. So there are ways to building around it and being creative. But at the end of the day, be careful not to fall into that trap. Remember, there are 3 tiers. $10,000 or less, no imputed interest at all. We don't have to worry about it. You can even give that loan as a gift and not have to worry about it. Gifts of $100,000 or less. If the borrower, meaning the person that you're lending the money to, has net investment income of $1,000 or less, then you don't have to worry about imputed interest. But if they have net investment income of $1,000 or more, you must calculate the imputed interest. Gifts of $100,000 or more fall into the imputed interest rules, and you would have to pick up that interest on your personal tax return at the end of the year, and may result in gift tax issues if you choose to forgive, if you choose to not collect that interest from your friend altogether. If you're in the middle of this transaction or planning on doing it, consult with a tax professional who's familiar with these transactions, or reach out to us. I'll be happy to help. Thanks so much for watching. Follow for more tips.